My ex asked for a custody battle, so he got one. I froze in the kitchen doorway of my parents' house, staring at my ex-husband, who was casually sitting at the kitchen table as if he belonged there. My own mother sat beside him, a look of adoration and heartbreak on her face as she stared at him. Then I noticed the formal-looking documents on the table. I took a step closer, reading the words on the first page. A custody agreement for our 8-year-old daughter, Janie. What's going on? I asked sharply. Mom shot me a glare. Sit down and listen to what Elias has to say, she ordered. I sat and waited. Elias cleared his throat. The doctors say I have 6 months to live, he began. The tumor is spreading fast, so I amended our custody agreement. All you have to do is sign it. He placed a pen on top of the stack of papers. Mom stared at me. Sign the papers, Gigi, she told me. It's only right. I read the first few lines of the first page, my heart dropping. You're requesting full custody of our daughter? I whispered. Is this a joke? Our daughter needs stability, he said. She needs to be with me before I die. My hands were shaking as I set the papers back down on the table. Don't be selfish, Mom suddenly said sharply. Sign the damn papers. I stared around the table where the rest of the family sat, avoiding eye contact with me. I was outnumbered. I signed the papers slowly and immediately left the house, ignoring my parents calling after me. It was a few weeks later that I spotted Elias at the grocery store. He was loading huge, heavy bags and boxes into the trunk of his car. His muscles bulged and he looked completely healthy. He hasn't lost any weight and he was moving with ease. I watched him for a few minutes, feeling confused. Then I told myself that cancer hits people differently. There had to be an explanation for this. I started watching Elias more closely after that and documenting everything. I called the hospital Elias told us he went to, but they didn't have a patient by the name of Elias Jamies. I tried using his maiden name, but they didn't have a patient with that name either. My heart was pounding in my chest. If he wasn't a patient there, was he even sick? Or was this some kind of sick joke to gain custody of our daughter? I immediately called my lawyer and told him about what I learned. He said he also found something that he would reveal during the custody hearing. The next day, I decided to follow Elias. He had a doctor appointment for his cancer in the morning. I went to the hospital, saw him go inside, and then a moment later, he left the hospital and started walking toward downtown. I followed at a distance, and my heart stopped when I saw him stroll inside a bar. He was day drinking, and perfectly fine. I immediately took photos of him inside the bar nursing a cocktail. The hearing took place a few days later. I dressed up and met my lawyer in the courtroom. My ex sat at the table next to us, and my mother sat on a bench behind him. She was there to support my ex-husband, not her own daughter. I was pissed. Dad sat behind me, and I was grateful for that. The judge entered the room, and the hearing began. Elias's lawyer immediately launched into a bullshit story about how I was neglectful and a terrible mother to Janie. My hands balled into fists as I heard their lies, but my lawyer didn't look worried. Finally, it was our turn. My lawyer stood up and straightened his suit. We have evidence of Elias Jamies lying about his illness to gain custody of his child, he began. First, I went over the medical documents he provided. Did you know there are websites where you can get full medical documents signed by a fake doctor? All it costs is $20. He showed pictures of the documents. My jaw dropped in shock. As you can see from the pictures, he bought one of those documents. My client also found out that the hospital he claims to be a patient of doesn't know anyone by his name. Elias's lawyer leaped to his feet, face red. My client used his maiden name, he said quickly. We checked that too, my lawyer said smoothly. No patient under that name either. We also have evidence that he went to a bar when he was supposed to be at a doctor appointment. My ex instantly paled when he saw the pictures I took of him at the bar. Elias Jamies is a liar who has no business having custody of a child, my lawyer continued. Elias glared hard at me, but I ignored him. The judge sighed. I'm denying Mr. James full custody, she said firmly. In fact, I'm denying him any custody at all. Full custody goes to Ms. Jackson. I'll be opening a case for Mr. James regarding his lies and perjury. In other words, you're in a lot of trouble, Mr. James. It was finally over. I left the courtroom to find my neighbor standing outside the room with Janie in her arms. She's been dying for ice cream, my neighbor grinned. Mom suddenly grabbed my arm. Gigi, she started. I ripped my arm out of her grip. Don't, I said coldly. We're done. Then I took Janie from my neighbor. Let's get ice cream.